Hey folks, welcome to Deer Corner. Glad to see you with me. Here it is Friday, raining. It's supposed to rain for the next 3 days. So here I am inside just piddling around, but Tuesday and Wednesday we had some good weather. They got some trees planted. I got 160 trees planted Tuesday and first part of Wednesday, but put out 30 hickory and 130 white oak. And when they showed up, it's kind of neat. It's different. They go around, I went around the 13 acres, GPS'd it, put a grid down, and that little crawler tractor and that planter ran a grid, and every 30 feet, the GPS would say, okay, put a tree here, the thing would put a tree in. And they ran that grid. It was pretty interesting on how they do that. But I got the trees in, got that planted, and I'm going to bring that footage up, show how that's done, but I'm glad it's done now. And then the rain came in just the right time. But every once in a while, a group of us get together for breakfast. And Frank was talking about last year's deer season. And he said all he's seen and got photographs of was during deer season was small young deer. And that's what brought this topic up today. But Frank would talk about seeing nothing but small deer. And he was showing us some photos, and James and I were looking at them, and Frank was showing them to us. And I looked at Frank and I said, Frank, those aren't young deer. Those are 5-6-year-old deer. They're just small. Those are small, old deer. And Frank kind of looked at it and said, no, they're not tall enough. They're not big enough. They're young deer. I said, no, those are old, mature deer. They're small. You need to take them out. Otherwise, you're just breeding in small deer again. You're going to have small deer next year. But I brought this topic up, and we got to talking about it. And how do I age deer? Well, the real way is looking at the teeth. Well, it's kind of hard to stop a deer. Say, hey, show me your teeth. But there is another way, and it's not by the hair. I'm gonna take that myth out right now. Not by the hair. A lot of people got the idea an old deer gets gray. Well, that's far from the truth. The deer's hair has nothing to do with its age. It's generic. 60% of it comes from the female. That's a gray doe. Most likely, her offspring is going to be gray. Now, during the winter time, they get a winter coat, small hair, which makes it darker. But the color of their hair is not the age of the deer. That's a myth. Just because that doe was, or that buck is dark gray, don't mean it's old. But we got to talking about it, and I said, Frank, let me explain something to you. I said, between 2 and 2.5 years, that fawn, that doe or that buck, the skeletor, their bone, will outgrow the body. And what I mean by that is the bones of a deer or any animal or human will grow to a length. And it will outgrow the rest of the body. Up to 2.5 years old, it will grow, the bones will grow. So, when you have a young deer out there, I go by the front quarters, front legs, the upper part. That your young deer, that's 2.5 years or younger, they don't show no muscle mass. And if you look at this photo I'm going to show you, you'll notice this young doe, she has no muscle tone in her upper shoulder. Now, it's after that, after 2.5 years, the bones quit growing. Therefore, the rest of the body catches up. And from 2.5 to 4 years, they start getting muscle tone. You start seeing muscle tone in their body because they're starting to put on weight at that time. Their bones quit growing. So I explained that to Frank, and James was gotten to look at it and looking at pictures, and we got to talking about that. But then from 4 years and up, their muscle tone really takes shape. And I said, Frank, these photos, look at these photos here and look at the muscle tone. He looked at it and says, yeah, you see the muscle? I said, those are old deer. They're just small. And this is just something I'm wanting to bring up, of telling the age of a deer by just looking at the muscle tone of the body. And yes, it does make a difference on what deer you take out, or what you're really wanting to do with your deer herd, and what deer to take out, by being able to tell how old that deer is. And that's something I'm wanting to bring up here in a little bit. But I'm hoping that this shows a little light on how you can be in the stand and see a deer and come within a year of how old that deer is by looking at the muscle tone on that deer. Now, I've let a lot of bucks walk that were pretty nice bucks. Nice 8 points last year I let walk, but the front muscle tone wasn't there. Therefore, they weren't maybe a 3-4 year old deer. The next year, they're going to put on more mass and be heavier. So I let them walk. And that's how I do it, by the muscle tone on the deer. So I hope this sheds a little light on and helps you figure out just how old a deer is by looking at it. And thanks for coming along. Go ahead and subscribe. Leave me a comment. I'll get back to you. And we'll see you again.